Donald Trump continues to protect Roger Ailes and support him even after numerous women have come forward and alleged very detailed instances of sexual harassment by Ailes. Now, interestingly enough, Kirsten Powers interviewed Donald Trump and asked him, well, what would your reaction be if Ivanka Trump was sexually harassed by Roger Ailes? And here's what Trump had to say about that. He says, I would like to think that she would find another career or find another company if that was the case. Wow. Essentially putting the onus on the victims instead of holding the harasser accountable for his actions. Now, after he made that statement, Eric Trump, his son, went on CBS and he further made an ass of himself and his father. Take a quick look.
With respect to the Roger Ailes question and with respect to Ivana and what he would advise her, does your father stick by what he said, or does he think that perhaps a better answer would be it ought to be to the attention of human resources and other things that we can do with respect to sexual harassment in the workplace?
There is no question. There is no question that obviously it should be addressed, and it should be addressed strongly. And hey, listen, we all run a company. My father runs a company. You know, we take this. That is a absolute no-go anywhere, and that's very much the case. I think what you're saying is, you know, Ivanka is a strong, you know, powerful woman. She wouldn't allow herself to be, you know, objected, you know, to it. And by the way, you should certainly take it up with human resources. And I think, you know, she definitely would as a strong person. At the same time, I don't think she would allow herself to be subjected to that. And I think that's the point he was making, and I think he did so well.
Whew. Yeah. Well, first of all, that's a bad answer. It also has no relationship to what Donald Trump actually said. It's its own set of problems. I mean, the Donald Trump thing, to say that I would like to think that she would find another career or find another company if that was the case, in that worldview, there is nothing wrong with the actual sexual harassment. You just have to decide for yourself how you're going to respond to it.
Right.
The only theoretical consequence is that I guess you could lose a good employee if they have a problem with you wanting to have sex with them so that they get a raise. How about this? Wouldn't it really suck for Ivana if she had to constantly look for new jobs every time some old pervert tried to have sex with her?
By the way,
wouldn't that be unfortunate?
I make this mistake all the time as well, but it's Ivanka.
Ivanka
Ivana was the ex-wife,
yes.
But it's an honest mistake. I make it all the time. So.
I grant you she's a strong, powerful woman, but it would be a big setback to constantly have to switch corporations every time you were propositioned by a boss. How about this? How about we make your job dependent on your job performance and make it so that you can't force people to have sex with you to get promotions? Yeah,
look, the role of the government is to protect its citizens, right? I think that's the most simplistic definition of what the government is and what it's supposed to do. In terms of rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, the government should protect you. So if you are a woman, the onus is not on you to job hop because your superiors are harassing you and making you uncomfortable. The onus is on the employer. The onus is on the colleagues that you work with to not treat you poorly, to not treat you like you're a piece of meat. I mean, some of the stories that have come out about Roger Ailes are incredibly detailed and incredibly disturbing. We're going to get to one of them later on in the show today. And to support him or defend him in any way just shows how questionable you are in your whole worldview of women, right? There are plenty of strong women who have been victimized in cases of sexual assault, sexual harassment. And when there is an imbalance of power, when someone like Roger Ailes, who gets to make decisions as to whether you keep your job, whether you get promoted, how much money you make, when someone like that's involved, like it doesn't matter how powerful you are. They can hold that over you. And when it comes to a television job, when it comes to media, that power is just, it's unmatched. I mean, it's unmatched. Okay, it's one of the most competitive jobs you can be involved in.
There's like 3 companies that control most of these outlets.
That's exactly right. I mean, media consolidation is a huge problem, and I guess this is one symptom of it. But again, you can't be making excuses for this kind of behavior. Gretchen Carlson came out and she released a statement. She says, it's very sad to see in 2016 we are still blaming victims. Trust me, I'm strong, and I was still victimized by sexual harassment in the workplace. Megyn Kelly, who apparently rarely tweets, which makes me like her more, also tweeted a link to what was said and just said sigh. And then finally, Eric Trump felt the need to defend his statements on CBS, and he says, I said sexual harassment is a no-go and should be addressed by human resources. It's totally unacceptable behavior.
Yeah, but look, if we're looking at your family's response to, okay, so she goes to human resources, and according to your father, human resources should advise her, yeah, then you should probably find another job. Because it's not bad to do the actual sexual harassment. Hopefully you are slightly more humane and ethical than your father. I would love to know what Ivanka thinks about this, considering she was brought out as a character reference for her father a week and a half ago about these very issues. And much of what she said about her father and his relationships with women in business are untrue. Women on his campaign get paid a third less than men do. But when you see Donald Trump's response and you see the son's response, you understand what they fundamentally think about sex and about power, and that sex is the reason they want power. Like, there's a lot of men that find it very appealing to be able to force women to have sex with them if they don't feel that they could otherwise get women to have sex with them. And they find it to be extremely uncomfortable, the idea that they would be in any way constrained from exercising that power, and thus their ability to find women willing to sleep with them. And he's a little bit better at controlling the expression of it than Donald Trump, but it still oozes out of him all the same.